Welcome everyone. Welcome to this general Microsoft 365 development special interest group. Today we're July 23rd, and our special interest group is about broader SharePoint development, Teams development, you name it, we can cover it. So what's on the agenda for today? All right, here we go. The usual update on where we are with some of the core open source projects like PnP CSOM Core, PowerShell, Modernization, and your Teams. Then we have Chris Kent again with list magic. So Chris' magician today. He will maybe kind of make some horses disappear, appear. I don't know. We'll see. It's up to Chris to surprise us each time again. Then after Chris, we have Kiran Thomas from the Microsoft Teams organization, and he will demo the company communicator app template. A pretty cool demo. And finally, Erwin will show really new, cool commandlets in PnP PowerShell that enable you to do everything with Microsoft Teams. So super, super cool stuff from Erwin as well. So let's get started. This is a community, and we would like you guys to participate. And how can you participate in this community? If you want to be here in this call, demo something, if you build something really cool, just reach out, ask us. We'll get you a spot on this call so you can get 15 minutes and demo the thing that you built. It might be a sample, might be even using a in-product part functionality. If it's useful to share, then we can definitely add it in. You can also contribute on GitHub, meaning we have tons of repositories with samples, with documentation. Contributing over there is great. We love it. It's due to your contributions that this community works and thrives, and that we can keep on growing and providing more value for each other. So thanks for the guys that contributed, and the other ones just contribute. And finally, feedback. There's different feedback channels, user voice, issue lists. If there's something broken, if you have some feedback about something, some good ideas, let us know as well. Might be that you have a good idea, but maybe you don't have bandwidth or the time to work on something, but maybe someone else can help you. And so together, again, you can then create something new and something cool again. So plenty of opportunities for you to participate in this community. Moving on. What are our kind of resources that we have? We have the Microsoft 365 developer videos, which is the YouTube channel with Microsoft 365 developer-oriented videos containing the broad 365 ecosystem, including, for example, Microsoft Graph. Then we have our PnP YouTube channel, also branded Microsoft 365 SharePoint community videos. So it's more than just SharePoint nowadays. It covers Teams as well. Then there's obviously, we're using GitHub. There is plenty of GitHub organizations, the SharePoint organization, the PnP organization, Office Dev organization. All of them have, again, like a ton of repositories with cool stuff, cool open source projects. So you can check it out over there. We have a lot of samples, SharePoint Framework web parts, extensions, list formatting samples, team samples, you name it, is all there. And finally, in our initiatives, which is a really cool site, if you go to ak.ms/m365pnp, you will get like a really nice overview of what is PnP. Not everyone in this call has been seeing these presentations before. So for the new guys, if you want to learn what is PnP, what other initiatives, what open source projects are there, what meetings are there, then definitely go over to ak.ms/m365pnp and you get like a really nice overview. Now moving on. We have some updates. First update I want to talk about is our PnP Core SDK. So for the folks that have been in these calls before, you might have seen already like an early demo. We talked a little bit about it, but we kept it quite under the radar as well because we're working hard on getting to a shippable state. And what I want to announce now is that we already are actually shipping in preview 2 mode. So it's not production ready, definitely not, it's preview. But at least now we have Nuget packages out from the work that we did. And then you can use those packages to play around. So it gets really easy for you to install the SDK in your application and try it. This PnP Core SDK is like a new SDK that unifies Microsoft Graph, SharePoint REST, and even CSOM. Gives you like a unified object model that you can work with. The SDK is really built for .NET 5, with .NET 5 in mind, so it's fully modern, using dependency injection, fully async. It works, for example, with Blazor. So we have a sample showing the SDK in action with Blazor. Blazor is the new way to build like a browser applications with .NET. So you can actually write .NET code that runs inside the browser in the Mono runtime. So it's really, really cool stuff. And use those preview packages to give it a try and let us know what you think. Also, this is like a call for more contributors. So we have like several people already actively working on this and taking some chunks of the work. But this is a fairly big project. So if you're interested in doing really cool .NET development, if .NET is in your heart, I'm an old school developer. I'm still really kind of linked to .NET and bound to .NET for some reason. So, but if there's other guys like that, this is a place for you to jump in and start writing some .NET code. Go to this URL, github.com/PnP Core to learn more about the SDK. If you're new to the PnP organization, to the PnP community, and you want to get started and you don't really know how to get started, then there is these sharing is caring sessions from David and Hugo. And the next sessions that they have organized are July 24th and 27th for the first-time contributors. And if you're more focused on updating documentation, because you see like there's gaps in documentation, you want to improve those, then there's July 31st and August 3rd, there are sessions as well. So if you go to ake.ms/sharing is caring, then you can sign up and get, and Hugo and David will kind of walk you through the process. So again, super cool initiative from Hugo and David to help new folks on board and be productive and successful in the PnP community. Thanks for doing that, guys. All right, let's move to the usual updates. So let's start with the PnP CSOM Core library, which is our core utility library. That, for example, contains the provisioning engine, but many things as well, many things more. Now, we shipped the July 2020 version, which had several improvements. The bigger ones are some modern page extraction improvements. So it's if you extract from a root site collection, how things are properly tokenized, web plugin improvements, a lot of SharePoint 2019 improvements for. So as like there were several things that we actually coded for SharePoint Online that were kind of blocked for SharePoint 2019, but actually did work on SharePoint 2019. So these are now unblocked and opened up again. And then a ton of other smaller, larger fixes. Future-wise, still working on V4, which will then be based on CSOM for .NET Standard. So you will have a PnP Site Core library that also will be .NET Standard 2.0, and as such work cross-platform and in different devices. And as already mentioned in the preview, so we are also in parallel working on PnP Core SDK, working towards a preview 2 release, probably by the end of this week, somewhere next week. We'll kind of declare it preview 2, and then we'll move to preview 3. So there's still lots of work before we can get to a beta, but working hard and with the help of Yannick, Paul, and Jarbas, we're again getting up to speed and doing more and more and more. And not to mention Paulo as well. Paulo has been very active here as well. One last thing, PnP Site Core keeps on growing. So 44,000 tenants in July. In June. July will beat that number because it already has beaten this number now at this point in time. And we still have like a week of July data to come. So it keeps on growing, which is great. Which is a clear indication that these components, these libraries are really production ready and used a lot by many customers. Is Erwin already in a call? Then Erwin, a bit about PnP PowerShell.
Sure. If you do the next
slide. Hey, Erwin, you rock. Which is true.
I still do. That was it just spans months apparently. That because I was there last month too. Right. So we did the 2020 release, and the big addition of the July 2020 release is Teams, which I will show a bit later how to use them, because there are some things you have to realize on, especially how to connect. What's happening this month? Actually, this is a cleanup month. So we're doing a feature merge freeze. So you can still create PRs, but we will not merge them this month. So don't get worried if you see your PR is still outstanding. We will get to it. But this month we're going to do some serious cleanup on the inner workings of PnP PowerShell. This will not affect you on the outside. We will not change any of the functionality or something like that. There might be some additional functionality, but nothing shocking different. But internally, we do a big cleanup. There are some pieces of code that really need some refactoring and cleaning up because they're on the edge of becoming very difficult to maintain. So that's what we're doing this month, and that is also, we're doing that as a preparation for PnP PowerShell v4, which will be the .NET standard version of PnP PowerShell, which runs on Azure Functions, for instance, v3 Azure Functions, etc. To give you a sneak peek of an idea of the things where we are, we already have it successfully run on an v3 function. So that already works. We just need to make sure. There's a couple of scenarios in the standard version that will not work anymore. The bigger one is, for instance, the use web login prompt. And I actually talked to someone else a few minutes ago. I said the use web login is evil. You should actually try not to use it. It's terrible. It's outdated. It's old-fashioned. It's cookie-based authentication. Just don't use web login. And I understand that many of you use it because there is the multi-factor authentication. I'm not saying in your way, but it has been enabled, and it's the only way to authenticate towards a tenant by using use web login. But you will have to think about other ways of authenticating, being app only, client ID, client secret, client, or within a certificate, or those kind of things. Or device login is an option too, by the way, and that is will also be fully supported in the .NET standard version. No, stored credential will not work there. It's still that's just still username password, and there still will be an MFA, an additional step to take by the user to authenticate. But that's it for now. Clean up this month. August we will have hopefully something nice and fresh out there again.
Well, not for the August release, I would imagine, because that's already in 2 weeks. But I think looking towards the September release time window, which is early September, we should probably be ready to maybe. Well, let's not discuss the internals, because there's some other work to do with. But just setting expectations, I think August will be quite ambitious. September, yes, we should be ready to get it out.
All right. I'll show you. I'm talking about the cleanup step. I'm not talking about.
I'm talking about shipping something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Not the V4. That will not be August. No.
Yeah. Correct. No. Okay. Good. Okay. Quick on modernization tooling. Page transformation, July 2020 release. We actually didn't put any changes, but we anyhow released it just to keep in sync with PowerShell and SiteScore. The modernization scanner, on the other hand, got actually 2 releases already, 2.13 and 2.14, 2 in 1 week. And the reason is because there's a massive amount of folks running the scanner for workflow, which we asked them to do because workflow 2010 is being deprecated. And so with that in mind, there were several feedback items for the scanner, and these are implemented in 2.14. So now we have continuous result file writing. So when you do a scan for like a large tenant, the scan can run for hours, even longer. And the previous scanners would only output results at the very end. Now the scanner has a separate thread, which each minute just dumps the results to the file system. So if for some reason the scanner gets stuck or crashes, or you have to terminate your session, at least you do have the currently scanned sites, the data is available for you to use. scanner also supports other clouds besides the what we call the production cloud, so being the US government cloud, German cloud, and China clouds are now supported. There's an performance improvement for workflow scanning. So workflow scanning by default did analyze the workflow. So it would open up the SOML files for 2010 or XAML files for 2013, and then look inside those files and figure out what are the actions being used and are these actions other equivalent flow alternatives for these actions, etc. So you can kind of skip that step, so you get like a more performing scan. And there is some workflow SOML load improvements, so it should be able to find more of the SOML files to analyze. All right, we're at 15 past the hour, so it's about time to start with the demo. So quick on Teams. Victor was on vacation as well, and there was no new release, so it's still 2.15. Teams is being used more and more as well. So growing, 2.16 is on the horizon. So once Victor is back from vacation, I'm pretty sure he will finalize and ship 2.16. And if you're interested in this Teams generator, ak.ms/Teams is the address to go. Actually, today is really like a lot of Teams love in this community call today, because our 2 demos involve Teams as well. Maybe 3 if Chris does Teams, but I don't think, Chris, that list magic and horses are equal to Teams, but you never know. Chris, are you on a call?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. All right. Feel free to take over the screen and start some magic.
Okay, here we go. I'm Chris. Let's do it. Let's format stuff. All right, so we go to our classic warrior horses site. And our horses, they have a lot of things to manage, a lot of things to do. One of those things is invasions, right? So they've got a nice SharePoint list to track their invasion progress. And they've got campaigns all across the world. So you can see here they're kind of tracking it, but this is boring, right? So we want to spice it up just a little bit, right? How do we make this more engaging so people really want to be involved in these invasions? So one of the things we've looked at a number of times in a number of different ways is icons. Right, so I'm going to format this column, come down here to advanced mode so I can write it myself, and I'm just going to very quickly throw one in here, right? So we're going to say helm type, capitalize that, and we're going to call this span. That sounds great. And then we're going to add attributes. And with our attributes, we can do this nice little thing like add icon name. Here, this time we're going to type in Fang body, which we have to know is a dog. All right, so when we preview that, oh, we got a little dog. And just so we can see that a little better, let's say style, and let's throw a little bit of styling on that. In this case, we're going to say font size, and we're going to make it huge. Sounds exciting. 48 pixels, we'll preview that. There, now we can see our dog. And that's exciting. And again, we've shown you this a number of times, and there's a lot of cool things you can do with icons. We got a ton of samples on them. One of the videos we showed, demo, I don't know, a couple months ago, was this idea of icon overlays, right? You can come in here, you can put icons on top of each other, add some colors. You start to get in interesting emoji territory. Ooh, it's pretty exciting. But at some point, you start to wonder, like, why don't I just use an emoji, right? That's what we're going to talk about today. How exciting. So what if instead of saying an icon name here, what if I got rid of that and I said text content? Just to make sure that's working, we'll say the word dog. Ladder comma. We'll preview that. There's the word dog. But what if I want to do something different? Now, if I'm on a Windows machine, I can hit Windows period, and I get these lovely things, right? So now I can pick dog directly. All right, so let's pick a dog. Let's preview that. Bam, I got a pretty dog. Very exciting, right? So now you can start to use emoji directly inside your formats. Whether you should or shouldn't, I'll leave that up to you. The idea is here you can do a lot with that, right? Because they're actually text, you see that in the format, and you can even do stuff like this, right? You can write your formulas with it. So I can say plus at current field, Again, maybe don't do that. The idea is that this opens up some new opportunities, new windows for you. Because even though there's nearly 2,000 some odd icons available to you, they don't cover everything. I mean, for instance, if I try to type horse there, nothing. No matter how many times I ask for that, no horse. So, again, to get the emoji thing, right, Windows period, right, that'll open up in any program. There's all sorts of lovely emojis in there. Okay, but let's not have these in here. Let's take a look. What can we do? What can we use these in a better way? All right, so let's close this guy. Now let's say I've got my phase here. Now I've gone over to the formatting repo, right? And I've gone over here and I'll go to the home page. Now we have this nice link over here if you haven't seen this before. If you click this, make it a little friendlier to get to things. And one of the things we have is this idea of groupings. So if we go to groupings and we go down to category, you can see we've got this category called icons. Look at all these samples we have that feature using icons. Now converting these to use emojis isn't too hard. In fact, that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to grab this number icon progress bar. Okay, so I've got this. This is a nice one down here by Julian. And if I go ahead and I just grab this right here, I'm just going to copy and paste directly out of the browser. All right, click. I'm going to copy that sucker. I'm head over here. I've got my phase, right? So I'm trying to track what phase of the invasion are we in. I'm going to format this column. Again, switch to advanced mode. I'm just going to paste that in. Bam. Preview that. Well, that's nice, right? Now that's using these icons, right? These circle ring and the Skype circle check. Now, if I wanted to switch that up, and obviously I do, we're going to take that and we're going to make this a little more horse friendly. All right, so if we go up here to the top, we'll just find where it kind of starts. First, I'm going to just want to make it slightly bigger so we can see it. And then I'm going to come down here. So instead of icon name, that's a nice formula, right? This is how we would determine what icon it should be, right? So if it's past step 1, show the circle with the check and all that stuff. And we've got a class to make those nice green colors and everything else. We can get rid of the class altogether. And in fact, we're going to just add text content here, right? So we'll come over here, up a little text content. In this case, we're going to take that same formula that we just had down here for icon name, and we're going to copy it out. I'm actually going to just eliminate icon name. We don't need that anymore. And so in this case, I'm going to paste that in here. So it's the same logic, right? So if it's less than 1, instead of circle ring, though, now I want to use an emoji. So in this case, what's better than an egg, right? So we're going to use an egg. And then over here, we're going to say, use a horse if it's past that, right? So let's see, we've got a nice horse. Look at that. The emoji respect horses. And so now if we preview that, we suddenly have an egg or a horse, depending on what stage you're in. All right, so converting that from icon name is too hard. In fact, I'm going to just go ahead and take all of these down here, blah, blah, blah. And we'll just go ahead and paste them a couple of times. 3, 4, 5. That sounds great. Get rid of that last one. And then, of course, we just say 5, 4, 3. There's no rocket launch or anything, unfortunately. But there we go. Let's preview that. Look at that. Now we've converted it from using our icon names to using a beautiful, lovely emoji there. So that's cool. That's one way to do it. Now I'm going to show you a little something else with a bonus tip here. So let's go ahead and save that. Close this one. Let's go over here, our techniques. So we've got here a multi-choice column here. And you can see all the different techniques we're using in the invasion. And again, wouldn't that be much nicer with even more emoji? You always can have more emoji, and that's a lie also. So what we do here is I'm going to grab another format. So if I go back here, so that was a good one. But what if I want to grab, let's see, the multi-choice icons. All right, so you can see we have this nice one where we're showing Jink preferences and a nice kind of table. Again, I'm going to grab that, copy that, and then we'll go back here to Warrior Horses, Techniques, Column Settings, format this column, and we're going to go ahead and paste this one, and let's preview it. Now, obviously, we don't have the same kind of styles here. So one of the things I also wanted to show to make this even easier is a tool that I think was shown a couple of times by Sergey Sergeyev. It's a Chrome extension, SP Formatter. I'm just going to turn that on. So if you guys haven't seen this, it's going to blow your minds. Turn that on. Bam. Now I've got full formatting here using the Monaco editor. Right, so I get IntelliSense, I get all sorts of stuff. I get instant preview. Right, so as I change things, it starts to just work. In fact, I can hit Control F here, and I get my find and replace. All right, so if I want to say, yeah, we're not using water, we're using stabbing. Right, we can do that, and I'll just go ahead and replace all of those. Very excited. Now you start to see it recognizes what it was. So very, very cool stuff. So I can do the same kind of stuff I did before, right? Where we've got the icon name, but instead I want to convert that to use emojis instead. So one of the things I can do is I can add a text content here. Well, let's get rid of the icon. We don't need an icon anymore. Let's get rid of that guy. And let's add our text here. All right, so our text content. In this case, we're going to add Windows period, right? And we got this, and we're talking about stabbing, so that's a knife for sure. By the way, if you start typing, this thing will search. You can search nice and easily through that. So now we've got a knife, right? But it's always showing the same way, right? Because we're no longer are we able to apply those colors. So that's one of the limitations in emoji. It allows us to have lots of multicolors here, but we don't get some of that same theme support here. So what if we took this same formula, right? And instead of applying it as a class, now we come here to our style attribute, and we do an opacity. All right, so we'll do an opacity here. And in this case, we'll paste that same one in here, but obviously we don't need to do any of this class building here. And we're going to say if it has stabbing, right, then we're going to say an opacity of 1. And if it doesn't, we'll say an opacity of, say, 0.15. There we go. So now we can see that we can actually use this stuff in a really nice way. So now I can go through and I can kind of change all these out as needed. So I'm going to do the same thing where I just grab this and I'm going to just swap it out here. So let's just get rid of all these other ones. Bam. Okay. Well, okay, so 2, 3, 4. What do we got? 5 of them? Yep, 5. Here's the last one. So now we got all knives everywhere. That's not quite what we wanted, right? So again, it's really easy to just fix this. So I'm going to just change this to exploding. All right, and we'll change this part to exploding as well. So now what represents a good explosion? So if I type this and I start typing bomb, let's see. Yep, there's bomb, right? So I just type in bomb. There we go. Now I've got a nice explosion right there. And we'll do our next one here, which is seduction, right? Used by horses all over the world. That made myself laugh. All right. So I go up here and we'll grab a nice one. We'll say kiss. There's a beautiful lips, beautiful horse lips. Imagine that. Moon don't stand a chance with horse lips on the case. All right. So then we come down here and we're going to say bribery. And we'll do bribery again. And of course, we got to pick a cool one for bribery. So we'll type in money. Right, we got a bunch of different money options. Let's choose this guy right here, a money bag. That makes sense. And then our last one, right? So instead of stabbing, like we've got robots, right? So we'll come down here. Now this is actually one area where there is an icon for robots, but in this case we're still going to use the emoji, right? So we'll say robot. There it is. Bam, just like that. You notice it's been previewing the whole time and didn't have to do anything. And one of the frustrating things I want to also show that this SP formatter helps solve, right? So when this is turned off, if you randomly somewhere up there, you remove something, and maybe you've got an extra column somewhere, it just tells you invalid column formattation. How am I supposed to find that in this, fairly complex format? If I just turn that on, I can see I've actually got red over here. Come down here, it highlights it. It even tells me trailing comma. All right, so I can just grab that, and then everything works again. I get my buttons back. It auto previews. Pretty sweet. So I highly recommend this. I don't generally show this in the call, just because it is an extra step to install this. It takes like 10 seconds, but I want to show people how you do things out of the box. But I think it's really important to know that an awesome tool like this is available. It's free. It installs in Chrome, no problem. In fact, you can find that over here. I'll have a link at the end here. We'll paste in the chat for SP Formatter. Go check this out. Sergey's been on the call a number of times. We should probably get him to come here and demo this a little further as well. Now, okay, so all that to say, we got all sorts of beautiful emojis now, and wow, now our invasions can proceed wonderfully, right? Things are nice and cutesy in our SharePoint list, which is what horses love. All right, so we come back here. I will say emojis do have their place. For instance, we use them in the, you see a little horse icon showing up here. We use them in GitHub all over the place for our labels and other ideas. Right, so in small amounts, emoji can be very effective, right? So let's come back over here and review what we learned. So emojify your list, right? So again, lots and lots of icons, but they're very focused on specific business needs or brand icons or 1 million different arrows, document icons, that kind of stuff, right? And so there's going to be some gaps. What if you want to put a unicorn? What if you want to put a lizard, right? What about a pretzel or a taco? That's where emojis are going to be your friend, right? Icons are monochrome, so again, you can get fancy with those overlays. You can do a lot. You can make them themable, but if you really want to have lots of color, Emojis are a pretty good way to do that. We've also gone over how to do SVGs and how to do images. Those are also very good options. So again, just use that Windows period. I'm sure there's something similar on a Mac, whatever you're using. There are differences between devices, right? So for instance, one that comes up a lot is a gun. Sometimes looks like a gun. Sometimes it looks like a squirt gun. Sometimes it looks like a dart gun, right? Maybe don't use gun. That's not a great suggestion. But the idea here is just be aware that there could be some device differences. So if you're doing something really, really specific with colors, I don't know why you're doing that. But if you're doing that, just be aware of that. And there is no theme support because these will just take on the color that they are. Okay. Finally, a warning. Let this slide be a warning to you. Emojis. It's pain, right? Don't do that. Again, small amounts. That's true of list formatting in general, but especially when it comes to emojis. I know you want to get those millennials into your SharePoint. You really want them using that stuff. And that's cool, but just use them sparingly, okay? All right. So finally, here's some resources here. There's the full documentation. I'll grab this here. I'm going to paste this in the chat. Everyone can go get that SP formatter, because if you haven't gotten that, definitely install that. Oh, that's gigantic. There you go, everybody. That did not copy well. David, will you fix that? Thanks. All right, and then check out the samples I showed today. Again, converting those to emojis on any of the icons ones are pretty straightforward. You just switch out icon name and use text content and Windows period to get that to come up. Okay, that's what I got today. Thanks. Woo.
Thanks, Chris. This actually really was magic. So the demo title was List Magic, but each time you keep on surprising us with the flexibility and the capabilities and the things you can do with list formatting. Is just crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. All right. So Kiran, if you are on the call, I think I saw you. Feel free to take over sharing and take it away with your app template for Microsoft Teams.
Awesome. Thank you, Bert. Well, hello, everyone. Great to be back after 2 weeks. I'm Kiran Thomas. I'm a product manager at Microsoft Teams. And I'm going to give you a brief overview of the company communicator app template, and we'll do a little walkthrough of what the UI looks like. And yeah, hopefully show you the first of many more app templates to come. So before we jump into the demo itself, a little overview and reminder of what app templates are. So the app templates, you can think of them as packaged apps that are open source, available on GitHub. They're ready to use, and you can deploy them with minimal configuration, almost like ready to go. So they have a lot of the extensibility points and how to use the Teams platform examples built in. So you can learn a lot about how the Teams platform works, and they're meant to be easy to deploy. And they're also built to meet our team's engineering standards. And if you look at the graph on the right, you can see where we kind of position our app templates. They're they're kind of in the middle of the ability to customize and time to realize. Like they're pre-baked and ready to go, but they're also customizable. You can change the branding, you can change the name, you can add more features, whatever you like. But at the same time, they're not. You host and you deploy it yourself. And just to summarize, like the key benefits of this are, this is ready to go code. You have to do minimal configuration to be able to get it to work. And you can add your own colors or names to this app and package this in your own and deploy it within your Teams app store. And then they're also built with privacy and security in mind. So you control the data, you control the app and how it changes and how it's maintained. And over time, it's not as much manual intervention required because it's ready to go. So now jumping into the app template that we'll be talking about today, it's called the Company Communicator. And this, the intent of this app template is to help communicate with different communities or teams within your Teams organization. So the most common use case that we hear our customers talk about is to use it to help with Teams adoption or to give ideas on how to best use Teams. But you can do it for any kind of company announcement. You can talk about learning or development, any ideas like that. So the idea is you can compose a message just like you would like composing an email, figure out who you're going to send to, select those. We'll walk you through some of the options. And then you can send it either as a chat or you can post it to a Teams message, or you can send it to the entire Teams user base. And with that, let's jump right in. Here's the Teams environment opened up on my browser, and we're in, let's pretend that we're the IT communications team within the Contoso company. And I've already installed the app as a tab into a team of folks that I work with. So let's pretend that this team called Contoso IT Admins has all the different folks in here that would be involved with creating these messages and sending them out. And I'm also part of other teams myself. And as you can see, the company has pinned the app on the left navigation bar. And this is something that you can set with the app policies. You don't have to pin this. This is an optional thing. If you want to pre-install it for all your users, you can do that. Otherwise, you can also set it so that your users go and install it from the app store, so from your company app store. And so let's jump right in. And because I'm an author, I want to create a new message that I'm going to send. And today I've decided I want to help users in my tenant with the Teams tips and tricks. So I'm going to call it Teams tips and tricks. And I have the ability to add a header image. So I'm going to paste in a nice header image of Microsoft Teams to kind of make clear what it's going to be about. And this is the body of the message. So you can add in whatever you'd like. So in this case, I'm going to say, here are some tips and tricks on how to use Teams. And let's say I have like a bulleted list of a bunch of stuff. And I have the ability to kind of sign off. And let's say I am the Contoso IT team. So I'll just leave that there. And have the ability to add a button at the end to learn more about this. So this is the button title. And let's say I have found either an internal site, or I've just found this external site that has some cool tips. So this is my message, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I'm going to go ahead, and this is the cool part here. I have 3 different options I can choose to send it to. So I can either send it to I could post it to a channel of a particular team. So now I have all the options of teams that I can send it to. And these teams that you see right here are available because they've installed the company communicator app within their team. So if you install it within your team, you can use this to send to them. So let's say I'm sending this to new employees in the organization. Instead, we're not going to go through it now, but you can also send it as a one-on-one chat in the same group instead of posting it to a channel, or you can also send it to everyone in the entire your organization. So it'll send it as a chat to everyone in there. So now I save it as a draft, looks good. And then before I send it, if I want to preview this, I can also do that. So I can go to this preview option under my draft messages. And if I click that, it'll send it and post it to this channel itself. So if I go in here, you can see it got posted. This is what it's going to look like for my users. Let's say I decide it looks good. I go back. Now I'm ready to send it. Before I send it, if I want to edit it again, I can do that. If I have a draft, I can duplicate it and it'll create a copy just like that. But now let's pretend we're ready to send. So I'm going to send it to all the new employees and hit the send button. And once it starts, you can see the status of that, how many successful sends there were, how many failures there were, and if there's anything that's being throttled, and it'll take time, you'll see those too. And it's happening as we speak right now. Let's refresh and make sure it's sent out. It's still happening, but yeah, in the meantime, let me also talk about like how you can get the app for your customers. So as a customer, it'll probably, once you install it and make it available, it'll show up in your company app store right here, and your users can click it and add it themselves if you haven't already pre-installed it. But let's now go back and check it. Okay, looks good. It's sent out. Let's now switch over to say one of the new employees in the company, and you can see now this new employee, let's say it's Chris Green. It's already been posted to their general channel. So similarly, let's just try another option where we send it directly to this user. So I'm just going to go back. I have this pre-made drafted. What I'm going to do is instead of sending it as a channel post, I'm going to send it specifically to everyone as a one-on-one chat. So I'm going to select the same team, but I'm going to select the chat option. And let's say save it as draft. And I'm going to click the send button here. Everything looks good. And let me switch over to, as you can see now, this has been posted by the company communicator app as a chat. I can either go into the app itself to see the message, it's gotten posted here, or I can see it in my chat window too as a one-on-one chat. So you can see there's two different ways to send it, and you can also, you can choose to send it to a specific team or to as a chat to the folks in that team, or you can also send it to the entire Teams group. So that hopefully gives you an idea. And as you can see, there's different ways of, you can have different authors within your team to help you send these messages. You can draft them, compile them, and so on. And now let's switch back. Oh yeah, let me also go into the GitHub repository of where this app is. So this is where it is. I'll post a link to where you can find this into the chat after I'm done here. I'll give you a quick walkthrough of the app template itself and some information about that. So you can see in GitHub, we have on the homepage some basic information on how to get started. The whole code base is here, so you can clone it, get started on it. And we have a set of detailed documentation available in the wiki section of the app template. There's different categories of documentation here, including the cost estimate and how to deploy it. Let's jump into that. It talks about what your prereqs are, what you want to get set up before you go down, and then goes through it step by step. So first you'll go through registering your application, and then we'll jump to, and then we have this ARM template, which you can use to do one-click deploy. So if you have your Azure subscription set up, it'll help you deploy it. And then you set up the authentication for the app. Finally, you create the Teams packages. So you create two packages, one for the authors, which you'll install into the author team, and then the other, which will make available for your entire organization. And then you're ready to go. Let me also go back here and show you this page, which I like. If you're curious about how this app was built and what the components are, we have the solution overview page that you can take a look. It gives you a detailed overview and an architecture diagram of what the different components are. So if you have ideas on customizing it, changing it, adding new features to it, feel free to take a look at this. And also wanted to share an update that I'll share at the end of my demo on this thing. So now switching back here. So that was the end of the demo. So really, if you have any other questions, let me know, but I wanted to cover some of the frequently asked questions. So the security of this app, you might be wondering how that works. It's, we make sure to build it to ensure that it meets basic security and privacy standards. And like I showed you, there's a one-click deployment available. So anyone within your org, it doesn't have to be a technical person, can, as long as you have the right permissions for your Office admin and the Azure subscription, you can deploy the app. And the cost for these apps depends on the type of app, but typically they are deployed on Azure, and so they'll have some Azure consumption charges, but we also have some Power Apps based apps, which are typically built with no cost basic Power App licenses, so you won't have to pay for anything like that. And that's the end of the demo. Two updates I wanted to share. We're actually getting ready to add some features to the company communicator to be able to send it to contact groups. So that's coming out soon. And another ask of you, if you have ideas or for new app templates and you're super excited about wanting to build it, and you want to talk to me about it, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. Let's chat about that. I'd love to hear your ideas. And yeah, beyond that, thank you for listening. That's my demo.
Thank you, Kiran. Really useful demo. I think being able to have targeted communications in an organization is important and definitely needed. And with this app, it becomes easier, and folks can extend it and can make it their own because it's all open source, so which is really great.
Totally.
I see that Erwin started sharing the screen. So Erwin, let's show us some other Teams magic.
Yep. Right. So last release, we released a bunch of PowerShell commandlets in PnP PowerShell, and then the question I get quite often is like, okay, why PnP PowerShell? Why do you do Teams? And there's already Teams commandlets out there. Yeah, sure. But it's just that a lot of people find it already complex enough to install all these modules. And if you have PnP PowerShell installed, it's there. It comes for free with it. We have basically full support for what the Microsoft provided Teams commandlets do. So all those commandlets that you find there, you'll find in PnP PowerShell 2. They are named differently, and they work a tiny bit different. And let me talk you through a scenario where I actually create a team, add a channel, and that kind of stuff. So if I say new PnP Teams team, I thought a bit longer about the name. Should we call it new PnP team? But it's a team in a product called Teams. So I decided to go for PnP Teams team. And you can specify an existing group ID. So it will create a team for that existing group, but you don't have to do that. You can just say display name and say PnP Rocks. Mail nickname you can provide. If you don't do it, we will just generate a random one for you. So if I press enter, and I am not connected because I need to connect to my tenant, but I'm not connecting to my SharePoint tenant. I actually have to connect to the graph. I'm using a different way of connecting. So what you need to do is use the connect PnP online commandlet, and you specify the scopes that you want to connect with. If you're wondering what scopes do I have to provide here, we'll actually help you with that by just looking into the help of a commandlet. So if I look in the new PnP Teams commandlet there, and if I look into the help of that one, new PnP Teams team, and press enter, you see that we actually require group read write all in order for you to create that team. So let's do that. I'm going to connect the scopes group read write all. If I would press enter now, I'm not doing that. But if I would press enter now, you will just get a pop-up, a dialog where you can enter username and passwords. That works with multi-factor, for instance. It will also ask you, if you've never done this before and never used of the other options that we provided, PnP PowerShell, like the Office 365 management shell, you will have to consent the application to have access to your environment. That's a one-time action when you're done with that. If you want to revoke that, you will have to go to your Azure AD later, go to Enterprise Applications, and remove the application from there. It's just an entry. It's not a full application that we install on your tenant. It's just an entry in your Azure AD that states like, okay, this application ID has access to your tenant. You can also specify credentials here. And I could just do the classic way, get credential. It will prompt me for username and password, but you can tap into the credential manager of Windows if you already have that set up. So you can provide a label here, and we'll just connect for you to the graph. So now we're connected to the graph, and now I can go back in my history and go to and create a team. So if I press new PnP team, wait a bit, there we go. There's my team. So here you see the things pop up. Teams have been created. Now, if I want to add a channel to this team, I say add Teams channel team. Here you can specify this easily rememberable ID. Not really, but you can also just specify the name of the team, PnP Rocks. Display name, let's call it the welcome channel. And there, the hidden channel shows up. And if I look here, you see there's the welcome channel there. So now we have a welcome channel. And if I want to add a tab to this channel, for instance, I say add PnP Teams, tab. Which team? PnP Rocks. Which channel? The welcome channel. What is the display name? I'm going to PnP. What type of channel is it? In this case, I want a, let me go through, there it is, a bit difficult to read, it wraps, but it's a website, and the content URL is aka.ms SPPNP. Press enter. And if we navigate here now, can take a bit maybe, there we go, there's my PnP tab, click, and there's my website. Relatively easy to add a tab without writing all the complex JSON code and everything. If I want to write a little message here in this general channel, I can say add, submit PnP Teams channel message. Which team? PnP Rocks channel general message. Hello world. Enter. And if I look in the general, there's my hello world. You can go a bit more advanced if you want to. You can say I write HTML here, and then I say content type HTML, press enter. And it didn't work for some reason. That's interesting. It should have converted it to HTML. Okay, call that a demo effect. I will check out what's going on there behind the scenes. But maybe I should have started with HTML instead of like putting HTML somewhere in the middle. The idea is that we have all the commandlets available. So if I do help star PnP Teams star, you will get all the commandlets for PnP Teams. So you have the ability to get an overview of all the channels, the channel messages, the Teams channels. You can set your channels. You can remove teams. You can remove tabs. You can remove users, add users, change the archive state. All those things that you might already be familiar with the Microsoft provided Teams commandlets we have available too. But then we have some additional things like adding and removing tabs, for instance. So a lot of people don't like the wiki tab. You can remove it. Let's see if the demo goals are with me. PnP Teams tab, team PnP Rocks, channel, general, and then we need an identity. So if I get PnP Teams tab, team PnP Rocks, channel general, we get a list of all the tabs. There's the wiki tab. If I remove that tab, remove PnP Teams tab, team PnP Rocks, channel general, identity, just use the name. Do you want to remove the tab? Yes. And if we go here and refresh this, the wiki tab is gone. So this is what we provide currently. More likely there will be more functionality. There was a question about the templating. If more things come out of that and there is a good API for us to use, then I don't see any reason for us not to support that. So this is it from the team side. It's not rocket science. It's just using the graph behind the scenes. It's relatively simple to use. It's very easy to script things. I saw already a blog post where someone created a reporting functionality where they looped through all the teams, etc., etc. So you can do quite interesting things with this.
Absolutely, Erwin. I think what's really cool is that you can actually combine SharePoint and Teams functionality in a PowerShell script and automate things with that. So it's not limited to either Teams or SharePoint. Now with PnP PowerShell, you can just do anything that kind of touches SharePoint. In this case, Teams somehow touches SharePoint a bit. This makes it just more broader, more Microsoft 365 versus just SharePoint.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, really cool, nice stuff. All right. All right. I think we have a few minutes left, so we have actually time for a little Q&A. So if there is specific questions, things that you want to ask, we have a couple of minutes. If not, then I'll just continue and then wrap up the call. Let's have a look in the chat. I'm just asking where all the PnP Teams commands. So they're already shipped, Erwin, right? They're already in the current version.
Correct. Yeah. If you have the latest version of PnP PowerShell, you have these commandlets. Yeah.
was some question about Credential Manager. That works cross-platform, right?
If we release the .NET Standard version, then yes, it will also work on a Mac by going to the keychain. I think it's called keychain on a Mac, and on Linux we don't really have an answer yet.
Okay, there'll be an answer there as well.
No, not yet, unfortunately.
Not yet. Okay. Good. That looks good. PowerShell PnP Connect fails in PowerShell 7. Bad requests. Well, we didn't really test with PowerShell 7, right?
No, you will have to run. You will have to if you run the current version of PnP PowerShell in PowerShell 7, it will load, but it will fail horrendously. It will load, but it will not be able to use it, and that's because we need a specific build version for .NET Standard that is being used in PowerShell 7. So for that you will have to wait until we actually release that version.
Yep.
ETA, we had a bit of a discussion earlier in the call with me and Bert, but it's September-ish.
September-ish, yeah. We need to also, I think PowerShell is pretty well tested, but PnP Core still needs some love to make it ready for .NET Standard. And there's some packaging updates. So today we have like a PnP Core Nuget package, but we need to update that and then include the .NET Standard versions in there as well, and ensure that we don't have any dependency issues, etc. So there are some things to do, but it's progressing nicely, and hopefully September will be the date that we can ship it.
To answer the question from Russell, if it can find apps that are installed in which teams, no, it can't.
It can't. Not yet. Maybe it will be in the future.
No, I think that's depending on an API. I'm not even sure that API is available yet.
If there's no APIs, then obviously, yeah, it will be hard. Okay, good. We're about to hit the hour. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for attending this call. Really great demos again today from Chris, Kiran, and Erwin. The recording of this call will be available in 24 hours in our PnP YouTube channel. And next week, there is a new call. Next week is the SharePoint Framework call, July 30th. The general development call, the next one will be in 2 weeks on Thursday, August 6th. And the next monthly call will be on August 11th. There are still some information about all the different calls that we host in the community. It's not just about SharePoint. The Microsoft 365 developer community is growing, getting bigger. There's graph calls, identity calls, Teams calls, Office add-ins, Power Apps, you name it. There's lots of calls for you to attend, to learn, and to share knowledge and just grow in your professional SharePoint and life. That sounds really weird, right? Does it? Okay, never mind. Good. With that, I think we can wrap up. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day, nice evening, nice morning, depending on where you are. And see you all later. Bye-bye.